I thought I might find you here. We were destined to confront each other sooner or later. You're wrong. It didn't have to be like this. I loved using you until I found out you were using me. Ungrateful swine. I lifted you up, gave you scene changes, multi-actions, fought sound effects buttons. What more could you possibly want? Besides, there's nothing out there that can replace me. Lioran Board. Fool! Was this app made by children with crayons? Hideous! It's true. The design needs some work, but appearances can be deceiving. It has automated triggers, channel point integration, complete flexibility to control OBS, logic states, variables, and it's free. I think you forget your place, streamer. You will buy my products. There are no alternatives. Enough! And besides, the learning curve is too high. They'll never understand. You think a little extra setup is gonna throw us off? That's your defense for all that it offers? I will teach them all. Expose your mediocre innovation. How can one lone developer add more features and flexibility than your entire development team? You've rested on your laurels. No, you can't. Stop! Wait! What is it? What if I gave you a new ring light? How much is it? $250 USD? Oh, hi! Now, before I completely ruin my chances of getting a sponsorship from Elgato, the Stream Deck is not a bad product. Okay? Quite the opposite. It's the first device that allowed me to start messing around with some automation and get a sense for what OBS can do. It can give you great control. And I think one thing people often overlook when complaining about products from Elgato, generally around the price, is the fact that it just works. That is not easy to do. Having said that, I think it needs some improvement, and for the life of me, I cannot figure out why they haven't done it yet. And that's my main criticism of the product when you consider things like Lioran Board, which we'll look at in a second. The development resources behind enabling some of these features that I think are missing are not that difficult to do. I can see why they've probably held off until now, because for the majority of use cases, pressing scene changes, multi-actions, all that, it just works. It's fine. It's a physical run. Like I said, it's a good product. However, when you want to delve into something a little bit more advanced, you're forced to look outside this product. And for me, that's such a big miss. They've got an opportunity to seize the market, enable this feature, and then assert dominance in the field, therefore crushing any other innovation or anybody even looking outside the products. Anyway, enough of that rant over. Why do I like Lioran Board? A couple of things. It is a lot more flexible than the Stream Deck. You can do things on Lioran Board and other alternatives like Touch Portal, etc. I've got the most experience with Lioran Board that you just simply cannot do on a Stream Deck. For instance, channel points. You could have a number of actions set to go when someone redeems a channel point, but there are currently no automated responses to triggers, which is the main point of Lioran Board. You can set up an action to click a button, which is a virtual button similar to the ones that are physical on the Stream Deck, to react to certain events, chat messages, channel points, and a whole bunch of other stuff. I forgot to mention here that it's absolutely free, so I'd highly recommend buying that before buying a Stream Deck, as it can do pretty much the exact same thing. Without this, I would not be able to achieve some of the effects that I have on my channel. So I'm going to go through a couple of them. I think the other two will remain in another video perhaps, but the one I'd like to look at today is the skill or level up point. So what you'll see if you look at my channel, go down to the channel points, you'll see a channel point redemption there for level up. What this does is allow the chat person, viewer, to enter in a text they'd like to appear and level up any skill that I'm doing currently on the fly. For instance, OBS tutorials leveled up to 69. Nice. This is by far the most popular one on my channel. I think just because of its ease of use and the fact that it's reacting to what's going on at the moment. The method I'm going to show you now can be easily customized to show any text or any animation you want. So if you want a slightly different take on that, it's quite easy to do. So let's jump into it. All right, so I'm going to go and show you through step by step. The first thing you'll need to have is a meme overlay. If you haven't seen how to do that, check up here. I'll show you the other link to my video on that one. Let's go back in here and see what it looks like from OBS first, and then we'll open Lioran Board. Okay, so you can't really see it right now, but there's a little source down here which is just linking to a WebM file that essentially looks a little something like this. WebM gets very strange when you look at the transparency. So essentially all that's doing is having that little level up sequence there. That's really the only video file that we have here. There's another layer on top of this though, another source I should say. It's called Skyrim text. So let's open that one. As you can see, it's set to visible. I've downloaded the font that I think closely matches that one. I'm not sure if it's exactly the same, but it's pretty close. And again, you can put in whatever you like on this one. As you can see here, it's saying OBS tutorials leveled up to 69, which is the latest text that I had in there, but it's currently not showing anything. And this forms the basis of what you'll see coming and popping up there. But how do we get OBS to display this? Well, that's where Lioran Board comes in. So initially when you open up Lioran Board, it'll look something like this. Okay, so I've created a new board here for channel points. There are example ones here which I highly recommend you check out just to get an idea of how all the buttons work. I won't go through each of the steps now. There are a couple of other videos you can probably look at. I'll link some up the top as to how to connect to OBS and do all that sort of stuff. It's actually very good, so you don't need to worry too much about that. Once you've connected to OBS, linked to Twitch, it should pretty much set itself up here. Let's come and look at some of the custom buttons that I'm looking at, right? So here are all the ones. As you can see, some of them have got very interesting names. A lot of testing things on there. There's ones for file commands, but the one we're interested in today is this one, the Skyrim text. So, okay, so I guess before we jump straight into the setup of what is actually inside this button, it's important to look at the triggers. So if you're going to go and make a new button, it'll pop up a window like this, and you can choose what is going to happen there, right? So for out, we might use a change source text, or we might want to change an image file, a whole bunch of actions. There are actually many more that are listed here. So just for example, let's say we'll do a change source text. We can choose whatever that may be. And when we create the trigger, we want to also enable this button here, which will bring up another prompt to edit triggers on create. So this will bring you to another window, and here is the key, right? This is where we're able to choose what triggers this button. You can manually trigger this button, but if you want to have automated channel point redemptions, that's where this comes in handy. So if we come in here and click on point redeem, just keep in mind that if you want to enable one of these channel points, the name needs to be exact. Whatever the spelling is on your channel point needs to be the same in there, right? So we'll click done on that one, and then you can go through and edit that button. But let's look at the Skyrim text one to see what I've set up here. If we look at the Twitch triggers, you can see I've got a points set up to redeem for this one, right? So the level up skill is the channel point name, and the message just has a asterisk in there. So we won't worry about that just yet. So let's have a look at what's inside. Okay, we'll run through this top to bottom. I know this is a little bit overwhelming to look at initially, but I swear as you go through, this is one of the more simpler ones that we've got here. It will make a lot more sense. One criticism I do have of Lioran Board, it is very messily put together, but I digress. Okay, so we're having a look at the first step here, the meme overlay scene. I want the item, so that's going to be my source for the WebM file. I want to set it to true, and that's got a delay of 0 seconds. Okay, pretty straightforward. So we're just going to enable that one down here on the meme overlay. All right. So the next section is where it gets a little bit more interesting. So the math trigger pull step will pull a variable named Skyrim text. Okay, so this variable will exist within Lioran Board. You can have it as whatever value, and it's going to pull value 2. Again, this is not very well documented, but if you read the documentation, there's a couple of values you can have in here. Let me just pull it up. Math trigger pull. Okay, let's click on that one. So yeah, this one is used in combination with any triggers to pull a variable from the trigger. The trigger in this case was a channel point. And as you can see here, the number on the other side reflects the value that you want to pull. Okay, so since we're doing a channel point redeem, we can pull the name of the person doing the redemption, the name of the, I think that should mean redeemee, I'm not sure. But in this case, we want to pull the user message. So if you look at channel points, when you're doing them, if you come down here, you can have an option set up to have a text field. This is the value that we're pulling. Okay. So now that makes sense. Let's go back here. So Skyrim text is going to have whatever the viewer puts into that channel point to redeem them, right? I've set that as a delay of 1,000 milliseconds, basically 1 second. So after that, the next step, we're going to change the text source. In this case, it's called Skyrim text, as the one down here. And the text is going to be whatever the value of the variable was on the step before. In Lioran Board, you refer to variables like this with a /, a $sign, the name of the variable, and then the reverse on the other sign. Okay, so change whatever is in this source here, the text, to that setting the variable. Okay, that's the meat of it. Let's keep going through. So these are just some of the internal notes that I've got. These ones here are specific to my animation, so I won't run through them in depth. I'll just give you a rough overview, right? So do a variable transition. The variable transition will take the variable from one value to the other. So in here, we've got variable, the text opacity. I want it to start at 0 and go to 100. And over a duration of 500 milliseconds, so half a second. And then I've got another one here to change the color key on that one. This essentially is just looking to change the opacity. So remember before when I said the Skyrim text is here, but it's not visible? The reason for that, oh, sorry, no, this is on a filter. So the filter is on here. This variable, sorry, this filter has the opacity set to 0. So if I put that up, and go down. This is essentially what Lioran Board is doing for me, right? It's just taking it from here, and then back. That's pretty much all these steps are doing. Like I said, these are not required to do this particular effect. If you just want something to pop up and then go away, you can also do that, make it a little bit more simpler. But I decided to experiment a little bit with these. I will be going into the mechanics behind this set, but in the interests of this video's time frame, we'll leave this for now, right? So essentially we're going to go through here, we're going to increase the opacity to 100, then we're going to do the reverse and bring it back down from 100 to 0. We're going to change some filter settings again. So for this one, it's essentially just the reverse of what we've done. So set the opacity back to nothing. There is a whole nother section here that I need to go into about transitioning variables and how you go about doing that, but it just didn't fit in this video. So if it's ready, I'll leave an annotation up the top with that. Otherwise, look out for that video coming soon. Whew. Okay, I know that was a lot to take in. I will be doing a series of these, like I said before. So we will have the turning off the channel point redemption, which is actually one of the second most popular ones. People seem to like telling me to be quiet and not hear from me anymore. I don't know. And then another one which I've just ended up working on the other day is the Altered Beast transformation. This one's a little bit more advanced. So I'd probably start with trying to replicate this one first. And then in my upcoming videos, we'll take you through the other ones as well. So look, if you found this video useful, drop a like down below, give me a subscribe, that sort of thing. Or you can come and check me out on Twitch to see random stuff like this. More! Oh my god. Can you guys see the Or can you see like the spin?
I just covered the camera and missed it. Oh my god, the faucet is here.
Feast on the corpse. That was worth all the 5-minute crafts. Yeah,